My name is Allan, and we are here today to talk about the Challenge All-Stars 5, Episode 2. I'm joined by my lovely co-hosts. We have the Vermontian Zoe Trimboli.
Hi, everyone.
And back with us is our Southern co-host, Luke Muncie.
What's up, guys?
Luke was not with us last week for the premiere episode, Episode 1, while me and Zoe were deathly sick. Luke, we need to get your immediate thoughts on Episode 1 that you weren't able to give on last week's podcast.
Yeah, I listened and you all did great. Couldn't even tell you were sick except for a couple coughs. But I liked the episode. You know, I'm an Ashley stan. There wasn't a lot of Ashley, but I can be unbiased for a second to say that it was a thorough episode that gave us the backstory or lack thereof of everybody. I saw a lot of people complaining that there was no elimination. I fully agree. This was episode 0, just as episode 1. And I thought it was perfect because people need this background. And it was really nice to not fit having all the stars being given out with an elimination. It gives us more time with people that we might lose early on. So I really enjoyed it.
Well said. And I think, you're someone who definitely skews more on the personality than the competition side of reality TV. And so like last week's episode, you missing out on it was like heartbreaking.
I know. So sorry. But, I feel really good about this. Like when Dario Medrano is even like making me be like, whoa, this is going to be good. Like I think they've got a really stellar cast. So I'm very excited to cover the season.
Let's jump right into it. We come back from last week. Me and Zoe were confused at the end. Like, so is there going to be an elimination? Is there going to be like what's going on in the game? What's the format? Essentially, last week they just gave out the 4 stars, and then this week we're jumping straight into a new daily challenge, which will get us on schedule. TJ, they go up to this big heights daily challenge. I think, was it the same building they used for season 40 for that jumping over and grabbing the flag challenge?
Yes.
Same exact building. They're using the same exact elimination arena too. It's all the same from 40 almost, just different houses. But we get up there and TJ tells them the formatting of the season, which will be the winner of the daily challenge is the only team who will be able to protect their star, no matter what. Like, you can't get it stolen. There's no punishment for last place, which I think really is going to hurt the season.
I agree. And I'm going to say something that disagrees with that. I think because this cast is in a lot of ways really unathletic, like, let's just be real, Frank got screwed. Like, I didn't get to say that last week, but I'll continue saying it as long as they're there. I do appreciate that because it allows for them to work politically. But for a daily like this, it does not work at all. And this is from somebody who wants last place to go in every single time. But when you have like Anissa, Beth, like Sam, it's not equal playing fields necessarily, but it definitely like put a damper on this daily.
And here's where it becomes like a really big problem. It's that not only is there no punishment for coming in last place or anything, but everyone gets a house vote. And in this world where people don't have to try in the daily challenge, but still have the power to vote someone in, I'm not a big fan of that. I don't think you should get power for just existing. Maybe they should make it a format where if you don't finish in the bottom 3, then you get a house vote. I definitely skew more on the personality side than competition side too, but I do think there is a baseline level of competition you need to like do for the daily challenges so that we are invested in the daily challenges themselves.
Yeah.
Agreed. When you have so many lackluster competitors and you give them all an out, they're going to take it.
If they don't care about the daily challenges, why should we? Why should we even tune in at that point?
We shouldn't. I mean, and the daily really didn't matter, but it was a bummer. And you're right. I like the idea of like, even with these super unathletic, out of shape people, maybe the bottom 3 couldn't get a vote. That would at least incentivize teams to at least lean over the edge and get one flag.
Exactly. It was pathetic.
Or they could at least give more incentive to top finishers. Be like, hey, if you finish in the top 3, your star is protected. Only the first team, though, gets the power to throw someone in. Because, I mean, as we saw in this week's Daily Challenge, there was a team that did pretty well, and they got punished, whereas other teams in the Daily Challenge maybe didn't do as well, got to then send them into elimination.
Yeah, I just think that people are going to complain about this daily for so many reasons, especially the ending, which I know we'll talk about here in a second. But I totally agree with you. I think that you're completely right. But I also have to think, like, if you are Katie and Veronica, like, you know, you're not getting that fourth flag no matter what. You know that Katie's not even going out there. Like, I kind of get it. I hate that I get it because, again, it takes away from the validity of, like, these are competitors. But that's also something we've said too recently. Like, we don't want it to be like this big, like, sport, but it is hard when they don't even try. I don't know. I'm very conflicted.
Let's explain the daily challenge for people at home. And so this daily challenge, the way it went is players had to solve a math equation. After they solve a math equation, they then have to go off onto the ledge of this very high building. One player is going to hold a rope to hold their teammate up, as the other player will lunge over the building and grab some flags. Each one gets progressively more difficult. It was a scary daily challenge. I'm not going to pretend like it wasn't, especially if you're afraid of heights, especially with the wind going on, as we saw in this daily challenge, probably terrifying.
Yeah, I would have been freaked out, but at some point, and I'm deathly afraid of heights. I've told you I fell off a bridge once, but, like, I think the adrenaline and knowing that you're being filmed in that moment, and also that there's, like, a security team that has tested this, and, like, at that point, you just have to do it, even if you just get one flag. Like, I'm calling it quits, but I tried. Like, I don't know.
Well, was it Ashley that said during the challenge that she wanted Anissa basically to fake it better so that TJ would stop yelling at them? Like, just act like you're trying. Like, the fact that some of these people wouldn't even get near the edge, I get it. The fear of heights is a real thing, but you also know what show you signed up to be on. Like, get a grip.
Yeah. I mean, and I think some people too, I know we're going to touch on this, but I couldn't help but think that some people intentionally got the third grade level math wrong, just so they wouldn't have to actually even attempt to go out on the ledge, because those math problems are simple. And if they weren't, like, use your hands.
Let's jump into it. Let's go right. Okay. For anyone who watches this podcast and says, like, oh, you guys are so negative, you guys are negative, I'm going to be complaining a lot about some quitters right now. So if you can't deal with that, don't listen to the podcast, because I'm going to complain. And we're going to start off with public enemy number one, and that's Anissa. Anissa just refused to compete in this daily challenge. And you know what? Anissa said, I feel safe in my spot in the game. We can quit this daily challenge. It doesn't really hurt us at all. And I'm like, you know what, Anissa? That makes sense. Work smarter, not harder. At the same time, Anissa, you're the one who every season acts entitled and is like, why don't people want to be my partner? Why don't people think I'm strong? It's because anytime you have the opportunity and you have a free opportunity to prove people wrong, you just choose the path of laziness every time. And Ashley wants to compete in the challenge. You could just be a good partner. You could prove people wrong and you could boost your reputation up a little bit. Instead, you're just the same old Anissa.
Well, and bold from the woman who just the episode prior was saying how Ashley plays a weird game that she's not envious of. Like, this is, like, just fact. Anissa as anchor, Ashley would have never dragged them both off the platform. Like, that was a benefit to them that there was a size difference between them. And this is not even me being shady. This is just true. Like,
Gravity.
It's the same way we'll talk later with Fessy and Amber. Like, Amber was never dragging Fessy off the platform. Anissa had nothing to worry about. And I could maybe understand if they're the last team to go, if you already saw, like, some standouts and you're like, I just can't. You're the first ones. Ashley's relatively tall. At least try.
Grab a flag.
Grab a flag.
And before anyone says, like, oh, but she did really well in her elimination with Jenny, that was, like, not a free opportunity. That was her game on the line. Anytime Anissa just has a chance to build up her stock and reputation and show she's grown and show she's changed, she just doesn't. And that's what pisses me off.
And for those that call us Anissa haters, I'm excited for her on 41 because I think she's gotten in some really good shape. So
she looks so good.
Like, I told somebody the other day, this is such a tangent, but for those who say, like, y'all always shit on her, this is the season where I'm like, you know what? I hope Anissa comes out and kills it, makes to final, and proves us wrong. I welcome it. But now on All Stars 5, yeah.
What have we said about her all along? We've basically just said she needs to get herself in shape because she has all these abilities as a competitor, and the one thing that's stopping her is she can't run a mile. She looks like she can run a mile. Like, she looks so good. not on this season All-Stars 5. All-Stars 5, I think we are going to see the same Aneesa we've been complaining about for years. So I'm going to comment on Aneesa on All-Stars 5. And then when we cover Challenge 41, I think it'll be a different conversation.
Now, to move from Aneesa to...
My karma. I just choked on my drink.
Moving from Aneesa to Frank. And I'm going to hate on Frank a little bit here because Frank was not willing to compete in this daily challenge, and Frank also felt safe in his spot in the game. And like, again, you probably weren't going to win this, Frank. But when you are the one who actively says, Frank, I don't want to do this daily challenge, you give Sam leeway in the future to quit on you.
Yeah, and I would argue this is one of the few dailies they actually could have won because, again, like, Sam is not Sam from Battle of the Seasons 2. Like, she's not. Frank was not falling off that ledge. Frank is shown to be fearless. Like, it was a letdown. And I understand and I love about this show that it's not just athleticism. There's some social aspect, like there's some mental play. I would have liked to have seen more, especially because he danced around the fact that Sam kind of cost them the initial opening daily to get a star. I would have liked to maybe see him be like, all right, Sam, this is something we can do, and then actually walk through it and at least get a flag, which I feel like is something we're going to say a few times today.
At the end of the day, too, you're still trying to show that, like, you can do something together as a team, because maybe the team that wins the daily challenge this week is a formidable opponent that is just going to, like, trim the fat. But you don't want to be the team that other people want to go up against to get a star, to do whatever they need to do. Like, you need to, like, position yourself as some sort of threat, mostly because there's so many other terrible teams. Even the other bad teams are looking at you as someone they want to face against.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the teams here are banking on people taking them to the end to run the final. But at some point, it's going to get down where one of those good teams gets sent to elimination, and they're going to want them called in elimination. So, like, you're really just buying yourself a couple weeks. I don't know.
We had two other loud quitting duos. One of them was Johnny and Beth, where Beth, I mean, it's what I complained about last week in the podcast over and over again. It's like that Beth, anytime the going gets tough, she folds instantly. She panics, she yells, she screeched. And then the other pair that quit that was loud was Kellyanne and Sylvia, where Kellyanne was the loud one in this scenario, but she was the one who wanted to participate in the daily challenge. And they would probably have done okay.
Yeah, I like Sylvia. That was so frustrating. Like, because again, I understand if you're the person that has to lean out, the fear of that. But if you're the anchor, like, I get you still have the risk of falling off with your bungee cable, but just go. Like, Sylvia is so much, well, not Sylvia so much, Kellyanne so much lighter than Sylvia. Like, it would have been okay. And to bounce back to Beth really quick, just because I wasn't here last week, and I'll try not to do this too much, they screwed John A. I get they're a real rival team, but that was so personal. And for that to be rehashed again on MTV and basically confirming that there were problems in John A's marriage, I think is like a callback to old MTV, but also like, give the girl a break. She's got kids. Her and her husband, I hope, are doing well now. Like, it just, the whole pairing feels grimy to me. And Beth's not a competitor. Like, give me a break.
What two-time male champ would they have paired with someone as bad as Beth? Would they do that to a two-time male champ? Methinks not.
Especially if he got his 2 wins on All-Stars. Like, it just...
I have nothing nice to say about Beth. Like, there's nothing more that I can add to what you guys have already said about Beth that is going to, like, continue the conversation. But she's just the worst, and I feel bad for John A. And her theatrics on that ledge were just ridiculous, and I hate her.
Well, she's a quitter. And, like, usually quitters are penalized. I rewatched season 29 recently, and I thought, like, I actually wouldn't mind Theo from that season coming back. But then I'm reminded that quitters get punished. Like, he'll never be back despite still being in good shape. Beth, who has brought a lot to the show personality-wise, but has quit so many times. At what point do you not say she's a liability for our season and whoever her partner is? If it's individual, sure, send her home. But, like, you're doing this to John A., who you've used as the face of All-Stars?
Johnny is such a professional too, because she's so nice and consoling to Beth, and then in her confessionals is trashing her, like a professional would. I mean, because she still has to give her honest opinions, but like, at least she's still a good partner despite everything.
Yeah.
Kellyanne, and this is gonna sound counterproductive, is that Kellyanne, Kellyanne could have been like quietly consoling Sylvia. Instead, she cursed her out. It's like, if I'm here to compete, like, should I just go home? And that was extra, but like that's why I love Kellyanne, because she's not gonna roll over as a reality TV character, and she's literally not a quitter.
Yeah, and counterproductive. You're right. Sylvia is in the situation. I will knock Sylvia right now. Sorry, Em, but this is a pairing that's at least like a rivals pairing where it doesn't feel grimy, and there's potential for them to maybe even win the season. So like, I can get more on board with it.
Well, and I think too, like something we love about Kellyanne is that she's cracked, right? Like she's a little bit unhinged. She is totally unpredictable, or just you can predict that she's going to be a little crazy. So at least it was on brand. Like she behaved in the way that I expected to, which is that you don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
I also think Kellyanne reciprocates the way that she feels people treat her. Not necessarily the same person's energy, but Kellyanne is like, Sylvia, you're treating me this way, at least that's how I feel, and I'm going to put it back out onto you. So it's not coming from a place of like malice, where like with Beth,
Yeah, she felt disrespected. She was returning that.
I love Kellyanne, and I think this pairing has the potential to be like the most entertaining rivals pair since Johnny and Jasmine. Like, I really do. And we saw it later in the episode, but like these two really don't like each other in an authentic way. Only other pair that like quit was Katie and Veronica. And what makes me feel bad is that like Veronica solved the math faster than anyone there. As Luke said before, though, like Katie's afraid of heights, as we already know. And with their combined size, I don't even think they could have reached a flag.
My first thought as well.
They're the only team I'm giving a pass to on this. We've seen Katie in so many meltdowns over heights. And like you said, knowing that they might not even be able to reach the one singular flag, I'm giving them a pass.
And I love Katie looking at TJ and being like, you knew this was going to happen. Save the speech. Like, I'm not doing it. It's just not happening. And I don't even know if like pass is the right word, but like this was a given. They couldn't do it. Like if they had maybe put the bar closer in and like adjusted for height, which would have taken a very long time, but it wasn't happening. And I believe at that point, there had already been people to get flags like that we'd seen. So like, I can give some grace to the teams that afterwards were like, I'm not doing this faster than them.
No, I just think back to that challenge on All Stars 3 with Veronica, and like she couldn't reach the like flags that were hanging above her head, and there's just no shot.
Yeah, was that the math challenge, and then she ended up still beating Naya?
Yes.
There was one where she had to reach up and she barely could touch the numbers, and like she still did the math faster than Naya. And I love the Veronica confessional where she's like, okay, we don't need to see Katie ugly cry again on camera. We'll just save those tears. Two teams DQ'd via not being able to do math. One of them was Dario and Ashley. And last week, me and Zoe said, this team is a sneaky threat to win because we can't imagine them coming in last place in any daily challenge. I forgot that besides a select few, like Cam, Amanda, and Devon, most of the people that got cast on Are You the One were dumb as rocks.
Not Brittany. No, you're right.
Can I say something? I once did a via text interview with Brittany, like sent her the message and she would write back. Most illiterate shit I've ever seen gotten back from a cast member.
I want her back, but I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding.
I know. I agree with you. I agree.
3-season like run that shit was pretty good. Like in terms of entertainment and just like insanity. But yeah, Dario, I really feel like he is seeing this season as an opportunity that he's an established business person and probably could film a longer season at this point, and he's going to show out. And I love that because I would welcome him back on the main show. But I forget, like you said, how much of an idiot he is. I think about the elimination him and his twin brother lost just because like they were idiots. It's like, oh yeah, that's right. I'll save it for Big T and Corey because I've got a thought about them. I genuinely think that they got this math problem wrong and couldn't figure it out.
Oh yeah, Dario and Ash. I mean, it was like two even numbers, and they put out an odd number as their answer. It was not even close. It was so hilariously bad. I mean, they're those two beautiful. Those two are so beautiful, and they're so equally dumb, and they have no shot at winning. But they could, go decently far in the game.
Just two gorgeous idiots.
I want to see them kiss again.
Well, okay. Did you see the recent Ashley's recent Instagram story?
Yeah. I don't think it's going to happen, but like, I think there is a vein that could be ventured through where like, I could see it happening. I mean, because realistically, and this is not me like saying anything about Ashley's character, like that she's a gold digger. I don't think that, but she did have a child with an NFL player who I'm sure accrued a good amount of money and invested it wisely. Like Dario could really be a cool stepdad that doesn't like, okay, sorry.
No, I'm sorry. Like his career flamed out faster than Dario's challenge career.
Yeah, but like an NFL contract.
He was a running back. They don't make a ton early on, and then they get out of the league. Their lifespan is so young, and he was pretty reckless. And they got together, and she's like 15 years older than him. And I think he's already been done playing for like years now.
Gotcha. I forget that she's a cougar. So never mind. Scrap that idea. But Dario's a successful businessman. Like even if he did have to step up and like be stepdad of the year, I could see it happening. But anyways.
The hypotheticals that we go down are just
okay. Flipping it to Big T and Corey, who also did not solve the math problem. Corey listens to this podcast because he's DM'd me a few times about it. We made peace before All-Stars 5, genuinely. And I want to see him do well because I do like Big T and I like him too. And I think he could bring a lot to the main show. I actually kind of hate that I'm glad he wasn't on 40, but I think he needs to be on 41. He can bring a lot to the show. I'm bummed because he definitely could have let Big T off, like him as the anchor, but she's also not that tall. But they're not stupid. I think that this is a team that intentionally threw the math to wait for a timeout, like you've timed out, because they could have solved that math problem. That was an easy math problem. Like I solved it as they were doing the quick shots from it. So I'm a little bummed about that.
I agree. I was shocked that Corey couldn't get the math done. I could believe Big T getting the math wrong. No, I don't know why. I've never seen her really solve a puzzle, so I don't.
Do we have any evidence in Corey's challenge career that he can solve that math?
I just do see him as an intelligent person. Like I think that he is quick-witted when he needs to be. I mean, we've also seen him be an idiot at times. But this math problem, Zoe, was simple.
I know. I'm just saying that you can be a very intelligent person and be very bad at math. Look at Michelle.
Corey works with computers though, right? Isn't that like he's like in computers and software stuff? So like I always think like that puts you more in like the STEM math type field. Then again, Dario works in real estate, and that's a lot of numbers and stuff like that, and he can't.
You take a pencil from some of these people, and they got no brain.
True.
I teach basic math, and if you tell kids they can't do like the algorithm to solve something, they don't know what the hell to do.
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine that somebody from 12 Dates of Christmas couldn't do a math problem, but I'm
just saying it's possible.
No, I understand completely. Like, I think I just had high hopes for them, and really because I do think the people who have debuted like since season 30 kind of have a chip on their shoulder to prove that they are an all-star. The show is not OG. Like, I'm tired of that conversation, but all-star does mean like you've made a significant impact on the show. Big T, I'd argue, has. Corey, I would argue, has not yet. He has the full potential to, but I really just expected more out of this team to like really show we're going to at least try for a flag because we're all-stars.
I think one thing is guaranteed, that when this episode drops, Corey will say they threw it on purpose during the math portion, regardless of whether or not they did. And we were playing possum. We didn't want to put a target on our backs.
I might even DM him to start that narrative because a friend of Ashley is a friend of mine.
That is 100% what he's gonna say. Mark my words. Write it down. Like that's gonna be the story. The first negative Twitter comment he gets, making fun of him for not being able to do that math, he's gonna be like, "We didn't do it on purpose."
Or he could say, like, I saw the really broad balance beam that was the platform, and I just couldn't mentally do it. Because God knows that really got him on 39.
Oh my God.
He could have won 39, to be completely fair, had it not been for that balance beam. No joke aside.
Yeah. I mean, at the very least, second.
For all
I
jokes
think
aside.
that, yeah. There was one team that got one singular flag, and it was Shane and Devon. And I do want to note, Shane is very afraid of heights. Like, I've known that from his previous seasons. And instead of and the whole time he pretended like, oh yeah, let's do this daily challenge, let's kill it, because that's who Shane is. Like he wants to come in, he wants to compete, and he also knows that if he's scared shitless, it'll spread to Devon, and then they'll just not do the daily challenge. Instead, they actually participated. I laughed at Devon being like, I'm going to pretend I'm doing this math up here. I'm just doing fake, hand signals. And Shane, got it done. And hey, technically they're the third place finisher in this challenge.
And dare I say, I didn't think this last week. I kind of did, but like maybe a sleeper team. Because like there's clearly targets in the house right now who are going to be targeted first. There are clearly layups who are going to be like thrown in when it's convenient. They don't fit in either of those categories at this moment. Like, I really like it. And let me just say, the stuff that Devon put out last Wednesday on YouTube, like the girl knows how to promo a show and like get people talking about it. So I actually might be rooting for this team more than anybody else right now. Especially not Ashley and Anissa. I love Ashley to death, but she's not winning with Anissa. So this pairing made me excited. And again, we kept saying when this podcast started, just get one flag. They got one flag, and they were like, you know what? This is all we can do. And I could at least appreciate that more than not even making it out to the platform.
Yeah, I agree with what you said, Luke. I think they are the top team in tier 2, which is a really good place to be.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always going to be rooting for Shane. Now, we had two teams that did really well in this daily challenge. First was Adam and Steve, who are looking like a really fierce duo because not only are they not only are they a strong pair, we saw them in the house before the daily challenge practicing math together.
Yeah. I'm really conflicted about this team, and I hate to keep backtracking like things I should have said last week. I was unavailable. But like they're a real rivalry based in All-Stars, so like I can't complain, but it's like I just wish the season didn't have any male teams.
Yeah.
Because it's a clear advantage. But they were fearless. And I think we're getting sold this narrative that they're not communicating well. I think them being quiet in the house does not mean that they hate each other still. I think they're just kind of older gentlemen with not that many friends around, and they know when to communicate when it's time. But it was an impressive showing today in the daily.
Yeah, their personality is just quiet, mellow. Like, I'm just here to hang out. I agree, especially considering there's only 2 male teams and they're both pretty formidable pairs. I think it was a really stupid decision by production, but nothing to take away from this team. I think that they did really well together, and I think they would have done really well together even if the cast was equitable from top to bottom.
Yeah. I might be getting ahead of us right now, but I really liked how they performed with this and like the communication they had. And then when it came down to the last flag, they weren't going to get it from reach. And they took the step to say, we're going to jump off this building to get the flag. I did not expect it all. And I felt really good about that team at that point. Yeah,
and I want to talk about that because we had a kind of a similar daily challenge to this one on Rivals 3. It was the first challenge of Rivals 3. Players had to hold their opponent up via rope. And on that challenge, Jenna and Vince won because Jenna was taller and longer than probably all the other females in the cast. And Vince was able to hold up her weight. 2 men in this challenge, even though they do have like a reach advantage, at a certain point holding up their weight is tough. Even when they got the 4th flag, Adam and Steve, Adam had to put himself into like a horizontal position and basically do a 200-pound lat raise just to hold Steve up. And I thought that was so impressive.
Yeah. It is hard for me to watch this show when you see that happening. But on the flip side, like you do see a Beth and John A. And even if they had attempted to make it out there, it would not have been possible.
No.
And like Fessy recently posted a story or did a podcast or something where like people were complaining about their pairs. And the showrunner was like, trust me, when you get to the final, anybody could win it. It kind of has to be the case for the dailies too, if you're going to cast like this. And I don't want carnival games every single week. And it could be that for the rest of the season. But like, this is one where like, there was one team that I thought would definitely win. We'll talk about later. But like, this was another team that had a severe advantage. Just two very strong men. But kudos to them.
And that team we're talking about, like, we're talking about now. Like Vince and Jenna, they were the blueprint for that challenge. Fessy and Amber are the improved version of that because Fessy could hold up 2 Ambers. And Amber is 5'9", and she's built like a gazelle with her limbs. And like she was able to get those like there. I don't know if there's been a pair in challenge history that was more built for this daily challenge than Fessy and Amber.
Yeah.
And they were fearless. Like there was not even any hesitation. And I thought that was cool. I thought that Amber probably would hesitate just because like the heights are scary, but they went straight after it.
But when you're Amber and you're looking at the person holding you up and seeing it's Fessy, like what do you have to be scared of?
Nothing.
And Amber, like testament to her, like she's like pretty fearless. Like you remember the way she's just eating the gross food on like the Double Agents final. When you tell Amber to run in a straight line, that's what she's good at. Like just go in this direction and she'll do it. Fessy got the math done for their team though. That was the big part too, and that's what makes them like so scary of a duo because like Fessy is actually good at math. He actually is good at puzzles. He actually is good at memorization. And so Amber doesn't have to do any of that now. And she just has to run.
You all said this last week. If this team makes it to the final, they're winning, whether it's like carnival games or not. Like they counter each other's skills so well. It's why Amber won with CT. Like, and it's why CT won with Amber, to be quite fair. Like they just had good skills that, mesh well together.
And you watch this back and you're like, man, Fessy and Amber could have won Double Agents. Like if Fessy chose not to switch to her, and then who would have been imagine someone else's Casey's partner with her like leg just being, I mean, that completely changes Fessy's legacy because like the way Fessy walked out of that Double Agents final has like stayed with him this entire time.
I'll have to think about that later. I love a hypothetical. But yeah, I agree. I do think it's cool that like he's owned up to that he really thought she was going to be so bad as a partner in Double Agents that he threw himself in to switch and it bit him in the butt. I feel like there can be redemption this season for them.
And I don't blame him because this is Amber's first ever daily challenge win ever that she was an active participant in for like when it comes to like solo pair challenges. She won 1 on Double Agents where it was Darrell just did all the trivia by himself. Other than that, she's never won a daily. And so, like, if you're Fessy, I get why you didn't think she was the best competitor ever.
She did win Burger King from that, though, so she really won in the end. No, but I agree. This was cool.
I could go for a Whopper right now. Fessy and Amber get the win, and now they're in power, which is kind of a messy situation unto itself because now they got to vote someone directly into elimination.
But let's pause before that.
Yeah.
I think a big crucial part of this episode that people are going to complain about, but I also understand, is it started to rain really hard. And they waited, it wasn't going to clear up. And TJ comes to them and says, this is unprecedented. And from my knowledge, it is. Allan, you probably know better than I do, of course. But he gives 3 teams the opportunity to just not compete. And those teams were Nany and Turbo, Devon and Leroy, and Melissa and Nicole. He says, you can compete tomorrow. We'll set this back up and come back tomorrow. Or you can just not compete and think Amber and Fessy cleared it. There's no chance. I don't blame any of them for not doing it.
I don't think any of these teams were beating Amber and Fessy in this, and I think they knew it. They did know it. I would have liked to see these 3 teams compete because I wanted to see how they were going to do. I really was just curious because Nany's historically good at things like this. Like she's pretty fearless, and I think it would have been really interesting to see her and Turbo work together and have to trust each other. Devon Devon and Leroy would have been interesting, and I wanted to see if Melissa and Nicole were even going to try. But I get why they didn't do it, and the idea of it's not just like coming back and competing. These things take hours. So they're looking at like losing an entire day of their lives to come set this up just to lose. Like, I get why they didn't do it.
Well, and I also thought too, on top of that, because you're so right. It's one thing to know, okay, in an hour, like I'm starting, I'll be done with this, but to then have to drive back to the house, sleep on it, wake up the next day, like when really you might not win and you might be socially in a good spot. I wouldn't have done it either. And kudos to them for not making them do it in the rain, because that would have been a very unfair advantage and probably unsafe. So,
I mean, unsafe in that it would have been harder. I'm guessing all the safety equipment is going to function just as well in the rain, but I'm not an expert.
yeah.
Okay. Here's how I think it would have played out. Melissa and Nicole would not have been able to do the math. Not even like, just straight up, they wouldn't be able to do the math.
They also wouldn't have gone.
They wouldn't have gone, but I don't even think they would have been able to solve the math either. Second, I'm going to say that Devon and Leroy would have completed the challenge with Devon lunging out and doing the math, but they would have done it in a slower time than Adam and Steve. Mm-hmm. And then I think Nany and Turbo theoretically could have done it in a faster time than Adam and Steve, but not faster than Fessy and Amber, because Fessy and Amber crushed that.
Mm-hmm.
Nany and Turbo, though, that's where it gets interesting, because at the beginning of the episode, they did their last week on the challenge too, and they were like, Turbo was balancing her with his feet and stuff like that, in a really playful way. And then in this daily challenge, where Turbo, he wanted to like mentally compete, but he's like, you know what, Nany probably has the political game done really well. I guess we'll not compete. Have they just completely repaired their relationship now?
Maybe. I'm going on a tangent. I'm so sorry. I thought I wouldn't, but I will. There's a lady on TikTok who made like a whole video. It's very popular right now, saying that like Casey and Nany broke up because Nany cheated on All Stars. Pisses me off. Like, and in the comments, he'd be like, it was probably Nicole. I've heard it was. It was probably Melissa. And she's like, that could very well be it. I've heard that's true. People like going through things. Well, you know Nany. You know how Nany is. Things like that. And Nany did post a story the other day saying like, this is untrue. If I were Nany, I would genuinely like look into legality, because this person is defaming her. Like, sick. So I know that when people see this, they're going to be like, oh, Nany and Turbo, because the narrative's already been spun. Like, what's this chemistry? She's in his lap, like whatever. Nany knows how to be a good partner, and she knows that the damage has been done between them. It's his fault. Like, they're not even mentioning that he's the reason she went home on World of Worlds 1. But like, there's nothing wrong with doing yoga together. She slipped, he fell. Turbo's a freak. Like, I almost didn't say it, but Turbo's a freak anyways. I don't think he even wants to be with Nany. I think he's just in his own head. And Nany's just trying to keep any semblance of a good relationship with him so they can win the season.
Like she said when she was talking to him in the beginning, they know they can compete well together. They've already been a really strong team partner together. So if he can put his ego aside, it's clear she can put her ego aside and figure out a way to work with him. So she's just trying to appease him and find a way to get along. The opening airplane sequence was a little weird though. I was like, this, I have whiplash from last week's episode, from how we ended it with them having this really emotional, Nany being very emotional and Turbo being weird, and just like to turn around and have them playing airplane it was just like, it was weird.
Yeah.
I really wanted to see them compete, so I'm bummed that we didn't get to see it, but I understand. Again, it makes perfect sense why all these teams elected not to.
Fuck that lady on TikTok, by the way, for just
really like. Can I just go on a little bit more of a rant and then I'll be done?
Yeah.
Some of the stuff on there is just baseless, like completely baseless. Like, if you're this immersed into the challenge, you could get on twitter.com and look at Challenge TMTV or GamerVev or get on Vevmo and just verify. But it's okay to be wrong. People are wrong all the time. But for Nany to have posted that and that video still as of today to be up and her commenting on people's comments, like, you don't like the girl. And that does not make it okay to say things about her that are untrue, that impact people off the show in her own personal life. It's disgusting.
Like, she's going through a breakup right now of someone who's like one of the great loves of her life, certainly. And I think for Nany to take the time to debunk it, in some universe, like, it would be really stupid of Nany to debunk it and then for that to turn out to be true. So I'm going to go ahead and believe Nany and say that it didn't happen. Most of the time, people don't take the time to come on and dispel rumors that are true.
Correct.
They don't do that.
And I'll be the first hypocrite to say I've gone on this very podcast and said that people have cheated on their significant others according to spoilers. And I say allegedly, and I say who knows if that's actually true because it didn't make the air. For this person to have not seen any spoilers because Gamer nor Pink Rose or anybody said that Nany cheated is baseless and like really frustrating. And this woman, I'm not going to give her her profession and what she does makes me sick that like she's spewing lies about someone. But anyways, next.
Casey would dispel the rumors, but she's busy begging for gifts on TikTok as we speak. Moving into the game, back to the game. Amber and Fessy win the daily challenge. They have a part to vote someone in. And then now we got the house trying to like scramble and decide who's going to be the house vote. Frank Sweeney, the man that he is. When he debuted on Battle of the Seasons, he saw a cast full of rookies and said, I'm taking this season by control and I'm running the house. 13 years later, he's doing it again.
That image of him sitting on the couch with Ashley Mitchell and Amber B. And who was the other person? Nicole, I guess.
And Nany was there too. It was
okay.
Amber came in a little bit later. I rewatched that scene to make sure, like for fact checking purposes.
This is why I love All Stars and why I'm loving this season specifically. That pairing in 2025 is crazy. I mean, seeing Sylvia play ping pong with Big T, in what world would we ever expect that? Like, that's so random, but like, it's moments like that where I'm like, this is cool. It reminded me of, because Daily Challenge, I'm like, Frank, whatever. This reminded me, this is how Frank can win a game with this partner. He can adapt. It's so crazy. And just seeing these prominent people from, I don't want to say different eras because they're kind of synonymous, but like they've not done many seasons together. Just here, love it.
I love that Frank wants to play the game. Like, that is one of our main critiques of people. I just spit. That was gross.
I'm so mad.
That's one of our main critiques of people when we watch these shows is so many people are so willing to be so passive or not trying to do anything to change their fate in this game. And Frank sees the massive deficit that he has in a partner and knows his skill set and is willing to talk to people and coerce people and have conversations. Like, I just love someone that wants to play the game, play their game, the game that like they know what to do.
This is why it's perfect that they brought back Shane and like Frank for season 40 for All Stars 5 rather than season 40. Because season 40, they would have been handcuffed by that really terrible game format. And here they can actually make moves in politics and in really unique ways and bring their character to the show. Whereas like on 40, they would have just been handcuffed by what do the women want to do here? Because only they can decide the targets. I also think Frank has a really interesting angle to play the game with Sam as his partner, where he is able to convince everyone. It's like, yeah, let's go for the big dogs, and he can do it like with a legitimate reason of, because you don't have to worry about me in the final because I have Sam.
100%.
They get the house. I mean, he said it during the daily challenge because like he's watching Adam and Steve kill it. It's like, well, that's who we have to gun for. Plus, they won the first daily challenge last week, so everyone is like, you know what, that makes sense.
They have no connections other than Katie and Veronica and Nicole, apparently.
Nicole's been on enough seasons. I mean, not that many, but enough to know, like, just because you've done a season with somebody does not mean they're your friend. Like, this is a recurring show where there's a recurring cast. Like, everybody's done a season together. Like, you've got to choose a side. And what would be good for her game is to get them out.
Well, she has like an IQ of like 25.
True.
So, and the emotional maturity of a 9-year-old.
Alleged. True.
You know, nobody likes to make fun of Nicole more than I do. But I will say there is something interesting about her where she's not an overtly bad political and social player because she's never been voted into elimination on this show, essentially ever. And So she kind of knows what she's doing, but in this episode, I thought she was dumb in the way she voiced her support of Adam and Steve when the house is clearly against them. Let's talk about Amber, though, because then she saw the way Nicole talked about them. Amber acknowledged the fact that Nicole is allies with Adam and Steve. She theoretically could have the power to vote them in. And from there, though, I think Amber just misplayed everything.
Yeah, I don't remember the order of events, but this probably is the first. But she met Veronica on the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
And this, like, I don't think this is the word. Well, okay. It was stupid. It was a lack of knowledge of the history of the show, which people do not have to know before coming on. Like, it's important to know, like, some big rivalries and things that I don't expect her to go back and watch seasons 1 through 10. You can barely find them. But, like, you've got to know that Veronica's an all-star and, like, an OG, and these guys are as well. Like, read the room a little bit before you tell the game plan. And also, maybe talk to your partner first.
Amber consistently just misjudges things. And she misjudged her friendship and closeness to Veronica, thinking it would take priority over the 20-year friendship that, as like Veronica mentioned, Veronica kind of made fun of her in confessional. But even when you like stem back to the beginning of the Fessy Amber rivalry, like Amber says, "Oh, I was part of a Big Brother alliance that I wasn't part of." Well, no, they did protect you on double agents for a good amount of that game, and you were part of it. But you weren't. Were you part of the core part of it? No, but you had to understand that as well. But she never did, and so she took great offense. And then they did turn on her the next season.
I'd be really curious to hear Amber's perspective on a lot of these things, because I know that she was diagnosed very recently with autism as an adult, and a lot of these like misunderstandings socially and not understanding the hierarchy of things in the house aligns with what she was saying was something that she struggled with her whole life, and just recently now was given an explanation for these things that she struggled with. So I honestly just forgot until we started talking about it, because like I think you'll see the moment where the light bulb goes off if you wind it back. But I think it makes a lot of sense when I remember the things that Amber struggled with, but this is where she needs to communicate with her partner and not just trust her knee-jerk reactions to things.
Yeah, so literally when I said like she misjudged her relationship with Veronica, I'm like, oh, she said on that reunion stage and said I misjudged the proximity and closeness of my relationships. But you're so right. Having that information now and knowing that, hey, Fessy, here's this. Should I speak to Veronica? And to which Fessy would be like, there's no need.
Yeah, and Fessy, I mean, he doesn't get thrown into elimination a ton unless it's by his own volition or it's the last elimination because he's the biggest threat. So he's actually not that bad at this game. So just give him the keys. I know that's tough because you don't fully trust him because you guys are rivals, but just give Fessy the keys in this scenario, especially because he's more used to playing from a position of power anyway. We saw Amber take multiple negative notes of Nicole, and it would then make sense to put them in against Adam and Steve since you know they're allies. But then Amber emotionally says, like, well, Melissa's a mom and I'm a mom too, so I'm not going to vote her in for that reason. But you never got any mutually assured deal from Melissa saying, hey, I'm not going to vote you in. And Melissa already has Big T and Nicole already has Adam and Steve. So you're not really high on their totem pole of alliances, most likely. So maybe you should vote them in.
This is where Amber has all the pieces, right? Like she has acknowledged that she overestimates her relationships with people, or like her emotions towards other people is sometimes not reciprocated. So like she has all these little pieces of understanding, but she needs to put it together with fact checking with someone and getting someone else's perspective rather than just going with her feelings, which she's learned don't always lead her in the right direction.
Absolutely. I couldn't help watch this and think, if people want to vote Adam and Steve, why are you not debating putting in Leroy and Devon? Like, we can't even pretend for a second that any of those pairings are close. I know that Fessy was in the Vacation Alliance, but like, we see who that really is on season 40. I don't think him and Tori are going to be closely aligned anytime soon. I don't think she's going to be back next season. Like, I think they had a real valid way to say, we were going to keep you guys safe, but you didn't choose to do the daily, and we see it was a threat. Like, there were some avenues to do that to get them thrown in against Adam and Steve. And then there's that target. I also understand that Amber and Fessy, even being a male-female team, are a huge target on their own, so maybe keep them there. But none of this seems smart. And to tie this back to the beginning, I think you're so right, Allan. Frank set that little seed, and it just grew, and his hands weren't even attached to it.
I think, I get where Fessy's coming from with this. I don't want to target the good teams because then we're going to get targeted. But eventually, there's not that many of these elite teams. And if you see that the rest of these people have already figured out that they need to get rid of you, your best bet is actually getting rid of all those other good teams, because then you're facing all these duds in elimination.
Well, and it makes those people think, I'm on your side, I'm helping you get them out. And you hope, or they hope, that it builds an allegiance where maybe there's some other outlier like Big T and Corey, Melissa and Nicole. People see Nicole as a joke. That's an easy team to throw in down the road. And I get that it's early, so who am I to say sitting in my kitchen?
So there were 3 potential moves. There was going after the power duo, which was Devon and Leroy. The break up the alliance, which is Adam and Steve versus Nicole and Melissa. And then there was the move which actually happened, the blindsiding of Johnny and Beth. And you guys are shaking your head. I actually thought this was the smartest move on the table, because I do think the idea of hey, you know what? If you're Fessy and Amber, let's protect Adam and Steve for now, because they're probably going to win the elimination and they're going to win the next daily challenge. So if we end up with that elimination, they'll at least set us up with a decent opponent next week. Because I think these strong teams are maybe going to need to pair up together. And the way this cast is, maybe those 2-3 teams can just all win all the daily challenges and just run the house. And
I so get that, and I get there are so many different avenues. So this is just another thought process here. But Beth and Johnny are the team I want to see in the final. And I get you've got to make it there first. So you're right. Maybe staying with the good teams get you there, but then you're running the final with the good teams. I'd rather take my chances. I agree that you want to run the final against Beth and Johnny, but Beth is going to be a target no matter what because of who she is and the personality she is in that house. So she's going to be voted in at some point anyway. And by voting them in, not many people are actually trying to protect Johnny. Nobody's trying to protect Beth. So it's a vote in where you're not, dealing. So if you vote in Shane and Devon, now you have the Lavender ladies after you. If you vote in Frank and Ashley, you get Frank's, allies coming after you. So it's just, if you vote in one of these worst teams, these other bad teams, at least there's more repercussions. Johnny and Beth are just on an island by themselves. And sorry, Zoe, go ahead.
No, I would have liked the Nicole and Melissa play, honestly, because I think there are plenty of eliminations that Nicole and Melissa could have beat Adam and Steven.
I think this specific one, having seen it play out, I think Nicole and Melissa 100% could have beat Adam and Steve in this elimination.
Yeah. And I think we might not have seen it. It might not have happened, but I almost feel like Johnny had said enough around the house. I'm not sure if I could do this. I just want to go home. I can never win with Beth. So I know she said she was shocked when it came down to the vote, but I could see Amber and Fessy being this is a really easy vote that, like you said, keeps their hands clean, doesn't piss off Adam and Steve. But if Melissa and Nicole had gone in, I would have loved that.
I also wonder if Johnny is just a better actor than Tony and she asked to go home.
Well, we did get the scene where Johnny's Amber, you told me that I was going to be safe.
That's what I mean. He's a good actress.
But then they showed the scene and it cuts off before Amber makes the actual assurance that she'll be safe. So I don't know what's going on there. That was some weird editing, or maybe not weird editing.
I wouldn't blame her if she did. There would be no reason to rehash marital issues an entire season and talk about it on TV again, especially if you're not going to win.
Can you imagine having to hang out with Beth for weeks?
A day? An hour?
Listen,
10 minutes?
I would love to hang out with Beth for an hour. I think I would have a really good time. But that is when I'd say, could we get the check? And she's going to pay with it with her last business. But I don't blame Johnny at all. They put her in a bad position.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the elimination?
Yeah. Would love to.
Hand up, everyone watching at home. I did not understand the elimination until we saw the winners graphic on our screen.
It was very reminiscent of the elimination we saw between
Theo and Bananas
on 40, but that one made more sense because there were, well, it didn't because it was a dice roll. So maybe it didn't make sense. But for this one, they would roll a color-coded dice or die, and whatever color it landed on for each round, they had to put that color pole in the section of a tunnel. There were 4 different sections. One person started inside. After they placed it for that round, they ran through or crawled through, and then they repeated. So there was a speed aspect as well. Am I wrong?
No, keep going.
There was the luck aspect because you really could roll red every time and you probably couldn't get through. But I just, I don't know. Zoe, what did I miss?
The part in this elimination was once they put the poles in, they had to go sit in that section together. They had to both fit in that section and get checked. And I just don't understand why they didn't just give them, say, hey, here's your 40 poles. You have to stick through here or whatever. Pick a number that makes sense. And then you have to get through. And whoever does that first wins. Like, it was just weird. The whole, like, you have to go in and you have to sit in there, like, together. I don't know. It's just, sometimes these eliminations are so close to being something decent, and then they're just weird. And that's what this one felt like.
I was counting my lucky stars. Well, I think some teams are counting lucky stars that they weren't the ones having to navigate through this. Some of those teams legitimately could not have gotten through there. Like,
honestly,
Fessy with his broad shoulders couldn't have got through there. Like,
I was thinking about Corey Lay trying to, like, get in there. He's a big man.
I see them making these eliminations, equalized eliminations, because really, a female team could have won this against Adam and Steve. I just did, and I think this is the point that you made that I just like forgot because I was already thinking about 17 other things. I didn't like the dice like being rolled because, like, what does that even matter? Just let us strategically place these poles, but do it quickly enough to get through it and then call it a day. The color meant nothing to me.
They could still have used the colors. Just here's your blue ones, here's your yellow ones, here's your red ones, and you have 15 of each or whatever. I don't care. Give whatever the number is, and you have to put them in, and then you have to get through as a team. Like,
I'm happy that Adam and Steve won because they're the better team and they performed well in the daily challenge, and they shouldn't have been like in this scenario in the first place. But it's going to be this way the entire season. I feel like it's going to be Adam and Steve and Fessy and Amber, and basically every elimination from here on out. I expect whoever doesn't win the daily challenge.
I think the added wrinkle, and I don't know if we're there yet, so I apologize if I'm speaking too early. The fact that they didn't get to change hands of someone else's star, I think is really stupid, because if there needs to be some sort of incentive for them to win this elimination, obviously other than going home, but it has to dissuade the people in the house from repeatedly putting them in over and over again to know that they are going to have power to put stars in the hands of whoever they want.
You're so right, because if John, Nany, and Beth had won, they can't take somebody else's star. They just get Adam and Steve. So they're the perfect scapegoat. I mean, I wouldn't hate seeing it because I feel like eventually they'd go, but I agree. Like, what's the point then? Like, I think we talked about this with maybe even Cara once on All Stars 4. Like, if you have a star and you're not already thrown in elimination, why would you ever go in? Like,
and it should be an option. Like, if you don't want to, you don't have to, but you should have the option of taking someone's star and giving it to someone else then.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love when Cara took someone's star and gave it to Jasmine last season, because then it put a target on Jasmine, and then Jasmine had to scramble. Adam and Steve should have been able to give a star to Katie and Veronica here, to like some team, so that way it's like, hey, they get to face Katie and Veronica in the final now. And like last season, Veronica got a star from someone and was able to coast to the final because she was never the biggest threat.
And Adam and Steve were suspecting Frank of being the puppet master behind all this. They should have been able to take someone's star and give it to Frank and Sam to put a target on their back.
I agree. Real quick. So last season, you're right. Cara already had won, and could give somebody else's to somebody else. Or is that because she beat a star holder in elimination?
She beat someone and already had a star. She
Okay.
beat Rachel. She beat Rachel and then gave Rachel's star to Jasmine.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
Rachel has a star.
But theoretically, you could have already done that, and that was also my idea too. Because like, if you wanted to throw yourself into the last elimination, like say if like you won the say you saw it was a pole wrestle and you're Cara and it was Jasmine in there, you throw yourself in there and you could take Laurel Star and give it to someone else for like that last elimination. That would be like a strategically viable move.
Yeah.
Plus, I also think just stealing someone's star inherently creates drama and conflict and storyline, which always is welcome on reality TV.
We have a rivals pair because of it.
They were in this elimination. Adam and Steve get the win. Beth and John A lose. And I will say, when Fessy called out Beth and John A originally, everyone in the arena was in their challenge jerseys ready for elimination. And because they were genuinely shocked, I wondered to myself, wait, did Beth and John A even pack for this elimination?
Well, and it's interesting because they went back to the house and then packed.
And that is a very throwback thing to do. But back in the day, when you lose elimination, you would actually go back to the house, pack up, and leave. Whereas now people just pack up beforehand. And if they get eliminated and they didn't pack up, people in the house pack up for you. So seeing Beth and Johnny go back to the house was actually kind of funny. And I hope this is how they do it the whole season, because I'm imagining the concept of like, I don't want to see this person eliminated. But the idea of Frank getting eliminated and then cursing people out back in the house as he's packing up is very funny to me.
Ashley, like Frank and Shane and Devon, like there's Kellyanne. There's so many explosive personalities. Like it's Turbo. I don't actually want to see that at all. I take that back. I want Turbo just to get shipped off in a rocket ship. But yeah, it would be really fun.
And we got the Beth and John A, where Beth's like, you know what? I think me and John A are finally friends. And John A is like, I never want to see this person ever fucking again.
It was really good TV. Because I knew that's what John A was going to say. And I just I can't wait, because everyone with any sort of ability to read any social situation knew that John A was not friends with Beth, that John A's just a decent person that was trying to compete.
Yeah.
And Johnny had a streak of losses now, but this is technically her first loss on the All-Stars spinoffs. Had to give her Beth to make it happen.
Yeah, that's a big old asterisk for me. When Beth is your partner, I like, what are you going to do?
Go home first. That's what you do. Before the episode ends, we get a scene between Sylvia and Kellyanne, and does anyone want to take it?
So they just are having their conversation about, again, Kellyanne saying to Sylvia, like, I'm just really bummed you didn't try. If you're not going to try, I might as well go home. Sylvia says, it was one challenge. It was a heights challenge. I want to be here. And Kellyanne says, because I've got stuff to do at home that's more important than this. And Sylvia, who has a 3-month newborn at home, says, don't you think that I do too? And Kellyanne says, well, I have dogs at home. And Sylvia reminds her that go for it.
Did Kellyanne say she have dogs at home?
No.
Or Sylvia said, I have a child, you have dogs?
Yeah, that's how it went.
And listen, I know people love their pets completely. If you're a parent listening to this and you're going to disagree if you're going to say that a pet is more than a kid, if you have a pet and a kid and there's a house fire, who are you running to first? And dare I say, if it's not your child, you need to rethink some things. Like, absolutely love your pet all day long. It is not the same responsibility as having a human child. Now, did Sylvia know that was going to hurt Kellyanne? Yes. But I also do think Kellyanne inflating the importance of having things to do at home is a bit of a slap in the face when you've got a postpartum 3-month mother setting here.
I don't want to get into the debate of pet versus child, but I will say, if you have no intention of ever having a human child and all you have is your animals, and Kellyanne clearly loves these animals very deeply, that might be the thing in the world that she cares about the most. So
I fully agree that Kellyanne probably loves her dogs just as much as people love their human babies. but I will not allow anybody comments or tweets anything to say that it is the same thing, the responsibility and the need to be home. Like,
I don't think that's what Kellyanne was saying. I think Kellyanne was just like, you don't respect me. And like, I have shit at home too. And Sylvia took it there. And then Kellyanne was just like, well, fuck you too. Like,
yeah, I guess if she had said two, I'm getting into semantics now because I like Sylvia. I really don't know why. So I don't know why I'm going to die in this hill. But I also think that this is a testament why this team is so good. Both are right. Like, Kellyanne, I genuinely believe does good work, not just with her own rescue dogs, but others. Like, I'm not invalidating the importance of that, but like, these people don't like each other. And it's not lost on me that these two technically won a season before, and like production rules kind of finagled them out of that. So like, they're both hungry for it. And I just wish they could get on the same page for a second, even to say, we're both kind of really good. Like, you can love your dogs. I can love my baby and my extra son. And like, let's win this.
I think they might get there eventually. I think this is inevitable with these two firecrackers. I know people like to say Sylvia's boring because compared to the rest of the Lavender ladies, she's the least explosive, but she's still like, she's got fire in her and she's kind of a bitch. And so is Kellyanne. Like, I actually really liked that Kellyanne stood up for herself though and was just like, you don't respect me. Like, I don't like the way you talk to me. And Kellyanne's not going to be the person that tolerates that. I say this as a fan of Sylvia. Like, I think it wouldn't be Kellyanne if she didn't call it as it is, because Sylvia doesn't respect her. She's not kind to her. She is, I'm sure, talking all sorts of shit about her all over the house. Like, this had to happen.
Yeah. Well, and even if it didn't, I'm so glad that it did.
As I said before, I believe Kellyanne reciprocates the energy that people give her. And I think Sylvia does treat her pretty poorly. Just a small tangent, as a former SoCal resident, many years, every time Kellyanne says she's going to take the winnings from this season and open an animal rescue, and I'm like, the prize money for the season's only $300,000. Land in California costs a lot.
She's got to move.
Yeah, she's got to, yeah. If Kellyanne was living in Kansas, I'd be like, that rescue's going to be so bomb, but in SoCal, and I'm like, can't afford that.
Yeah.
Do it in Arizona.
That's why I live in Arizona now. They are good reality TV though, and man, I really wish Sylvia had come on the season like maybe like 6 months after giving birth rather than 3, because then they'd be a real threat to win.
Can I say I wish, my last little I wish? I really wish that the Lavender ladies would have told Amanda they were going to be on the season, because she was contacted and said no. Because we've not had any mention on the actual show of the Lavender ladies because they're incomplete. Amanda's an integral part. But that would have really capped off the dynamic. And dare I say, they would have given Zach Nichols, hate him or not, they would have given him his call. And that would have really had like the Lavender ladies with the San Francisco or San Francisco.
Yeah, San Diego. Yeah.
Imagine if they got Amanda and Corey together as a team.
And honestly, that might have been even more viable. So I do think that is the one missing piece from this season. And hell, even if you brought in Jimmy and Zach as another team, I don't know, I'm getting too much into it, but I do think we're set up to have a good season. I like this. I'm not revealing spoilers, but I have seen the spoiler account say that like there's drama in every single episode till the end. Like, it's not like we're going to hit a wall and be like, oh my God, 6 more episodes. So I feel good.
But they lack in athletic ability. They bring to the table in personality and chaos.
Yeah.
Can I say something? I think the Lavender ladies are the best female alliance in challenge history. I think they're actually more impressive than the Mean Girls when you consider the era they played in. Both times, all four of them were together. They won the season, and the last season they were on, they came in first, second, and had the pair with the most daily challenge wins in Zach and Amanda. So they were the best team and came in first and second too.
I want to live. Well, I don't want to live in this world because I love Ashley, but I do want to at least take a glimpse at the world where Zach and Amanda don't volunteer to go in against the mercenaries, just see what happens. Because I think there's a real space for them to win that season, but also a really cool avenue where they can kind of band together, and maybe not Shane and Nelson, but the 3 like women members of the Lavender Ladies make that final.
Yeah.
Totally.
That's not even a take away from Shane either, because I think Shane is the brain of that alliance too. He's the strategist of that alliance.
I just think with how the season was going, Shane and Nelson would have been the first of the group picked off.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And Nelson can't read. He can't walk. I mean, he can't swim. He can't. I mean, like, literally why he got eliminated. He couldn't run in a straight line.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. I think that they're like, now that time has passed, I think what they did was so much more impressive than the Mean Girls. And that's not even to shade the Mean Girls, but I think that like nostalgia glasses get put so much on them. What the Lavender Ladies did was actually so much more impressive. And yet they got so much hate and are still underrated today by some fans. But yeah. Next week though, we talked for longer in this episode than the actual episode aired, which means that we have good content. Like, it's not like season 40 where we were like really dreading and like, man, are we gonna talk about Aviv losing her shoe? Are we gonna talk about, TJ laughing at people because they can't solve math? We actually got a good episode, and next week I feel like we're gonna complain about Anissa, which is right in our wheelhouse based on the trailer. So strap in, everyone. All Stars 5. Make sure to subscribe to us on Spotify, iTunes, Apple. Anything else you guys got to say before we go?
Not this time.
All right. Have a great weekend, everyone.